Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone, and welcome back to another one of our interviews in Family Legal's podcast series, where we explore family law in both theory and practice with an interdisciplinary approach. I'm Arpanjot Kaur, and with me is my friend Shubham. We are currently second year BA LLB students from National Law School of India, University, Bangalore. In the interview today, we are tackling a deeply sensitive but also perhaps one of the most important topics within the area of marital disputes and divorce, the mental health well-being of children during and after a divorce. To help us to explore this issue, we are deeply honored to have Ms. Gayathri with us here today. Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out time from your busy schedule and joining us today for this interview. To our viewers, Ms. Gayathri is a leading expert in child and adolescent mental health. She is a doctoral scholar at TISS Mumbai, specializing in the area of attachment experiences of children of divorcing couples. Ms. Gayathri works with Muskan, which is a well-known child mental health initiative of TISS. She has extensive experience working with family courts as a child counselor. She is also involved in the field work supervision and has taught courses on children, family, and mental health. Moreover, she has co-designed and co-delivered a self-care training based on cutting-edge neuroscience for citizens across India and worldwide for RTL works during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now I'll ask my friend Shubham to take over from here.
Yes. Thank you so much, Arpan, for that interview. And thank you so much, ma'am, for taking the time to join us today for this interview. I will lay out a very broad roadmap of what we are about to discuss today for our viewers. So today, we will focus on the crucial yet often overlooked perspective of children whose parents are navigating this topic of divorce. We will be discussing strategies for communicating divorce to children sensitively, the importance of validating their complex emotions, and effective ways to establish a healthy parental balance post separation. These will not merely be theoretical discussions, but we will be focused on how parents or other caretakers can, in practice, fundamentally alter a child's experience of divorce, ensuring the emotional well-being remains a priority amidst parental separation. We at Family Legal believe that this conversation is of prime importance given how crucial a supportive environment is to a child's long-term adjustment and mental health, and understanding how to achieve this can make a world of difference for them. So, that being said, I will start with the first question for uh, guys and ma'am today. Ma'am, recognizing that informing children about a divorce is an emotionally challenging task and a topic for parents. What overarching principles or considerations should guide their communication when they speak to their children, regardless of their age? And a follow-up to this is considering how significant developmental differences are there between a preschool age child and a teenager. How should the content and approach of this conversation of informing them of divorce be modified?
Thank you, Shubham and Arvind, for having me here. And to respond to your first question, which is to how to communicate to children or how to prepare children to this through this stressful situation. Um, I think I would like to just foreground the this issue by bringing. We all know, but it's good to know what are the different vulnerabilities of children. Um, so then we'll know what to, how to and uh, how to address this. So the different, or the very first instance they find out about that something is going to go wrong about the family. The first time they find out about the separation, how they find about it, when the actual separation or divorce happens, um, when or if there is a change of living arrangements, um, changes to school, and multiple other abrupt changes, custody arrangements, having two homes, visitations, unsupervised or let's say supervised access in a home setting, sibling separations. So there are a number of issues, and I'm just stating some of those visible aspects of vulnerability of children during this transition. So, then we know that what do I mean? Are children sufficiently uh, prepared given their uh, development to be able to deal with such a major life change? Of course not. So, as you rightly said, how are we going to prepare them through this? So, I think in you asking for what are the guiding principles. So there is no one set. There's no one thumb rule of uh, way of communicating, but there is multiplicity. There's multiplicity of complex or complicated social factors that sort of intervene how we communicate. But there's one psychological, way of communicating that will be, something that we cannot do away with. And that one word I'd like to use is attunement. So when I use the word attunement is right now, or each time when I am with someone, how am I able to tune into and to be able to bring their essence into my world and to be able to communicate that. So attunement is a way of being. So for a child, when they are in a hardship, how are we able to be with them, see them, hold the space? So that means how much, how much self-awareness, or how am I self-aware about my eye contact that I make, the facial expressions that I have, the tone, the pitch, and the timing of conversation, and the intensity of, the sound or the conversation that I make. So this will determine how I'm going to help the child receive what I am going to, communicate with the child. So when I say attunement, if I can just take you through the hand-brain model. If you've heard about Dr. Dan Siegel's very simple way of understanding how our brain functions through a hand model of a brain. So if I sort of, bring my thumb in, furl it in, this is my emotional brain, this is my body brain, and this is my thinking cortex. And when I am my thinking, my emotional, and my body brain, if I may say so, or inner brain, when all the three parts of my brain are in sync with each other, is when I am in a calm state of, receiving. And when I am threatened, I am probably activated in my fight response, my fear responses, or maybe if I can't fight and escape the situation, I might feel overwhelmed and have a freeze response. So when there are, heightened anxiety or threatening life situations, obviously the first thing is to be curious about and being attuned about how are the feeling states of the child. And when children may not have be able to make sense that they are feeling so it might be useful to actually restate what you're seeing. I wonder if you're feeling this way, and that may allow the thinking cortex to come back and be present. So your presence and their ability to receive is what makes a connecting conversation with them. So no matter whatever is the stressful situation, how were you able to down-regulate a child and be present? So not hurrying for solutions, or let's say, well, it's okay because you are. So I think to be able to communicate about a situation of separation or divorce, I think is the highest stressor even for a parent. So sometimes the way it happens can bring in unbearable pain for the parent. So maybe we need to also help parents to be able to deal with that and help parents simultaneously to help their children.
Thanks, ma'am. Thank you so much for that explanation. I love how you said that there's no one set of guiding principles that we can just like throw down on parents to follow. But it depends from child to child, from situation to situation. What is important is fulfillment. Your explanation of the hand-brain model of how all of those three things need to be congruent. Also, put a lot of these things into perspective. I just had a follow-up to this question. So you mentioned that we should attune what our approach will be when we have to tell children how exactly like when parents have to tell children that they in fact are going to go through this divorce. Do you think that this attunement is often different for those who are in school than those who are in high school and perhaps those who are in college, like those of our age? So, like in those situations, does the approach of parenthood, does the strategy of attunement have to differ? And in your experience as a child counselor, have you seen any patterns in these three or four situations?
Absolutely. So I think children at different age levels, and most of the time, divorce or separation happens when children are very young, at an early age, let's say preschool or school going children. So, yeah, when we work with them more than because language is not their primary method of making sense of the world. So, yes, I've had uh, stories or prepare the children with culturally appropriate stories about introduction of what is separation, or divorce, and then maybe simultaneously when like if you're using attunement, uh, allowing the child to map out their emotions as colors wherever they feel in the body. And then they may say stories of two butterflies sting together. The third butterfly comes in, goes out. And when that butterfly comes in, how they feel. When the butterfly goes out, how they feel, what works for them. So that is, you can start and pace the conversation, whatever the child brings to you. And the child knows how to, figure out. So the allowing the child for expression without judging, with attunement again to uh, with uh, connecting conversations through whatever is their method. So some children may use uh, play, some may just talk, some may just scribble. Whatever they are is their way of expression. We don't have to structure it. We can start with what is their known way of self-expression. There are lots of stories, and a lot of stories are, in fact, from the Western understanding of family. So it may not be entirely. We really don't have, and that is an area we need to develop materials. And I think we have our own way, devised our own way of working with children through our own stories that exist with us. Sometimes introducing separation through known stories. Or we can even use known films for children. They understand. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, that provides a great explanation of the thing. I think we would have never imagined that stories can actually play such a big role in like communicating with the children such tough times. That actually helps us get understanding of like how does that communication take place. In follow to that question, we just had this curiosity about a lot of times. I think most of the times with divorce, there is a transition from a shared household to separate homes, and that is like what we have a usual perception of divorce being. Then in such scenarios, how do you see that, how can the parents or the caregivers in that sense, how can they proactively mitigate the potential negative impact of shifting parental roles? For example, often a child has certain values attached to their parents, one being the more fun parent and other the disciplinarian. On the How does that affect the children's sense of security and stability when they shift from shared household to separate homes? And what do you think can be the specific strategies that the caregivers can employ to ensure both parents maintain a balanced and supportive presence rather than the child being pushed towards one single parent itself?
Yeah, again, it really differs from family to family and child to child. And so, so the what you mean by sense of safety? Safety is when we are able to, uh, be neurologically be this, and what provides this. So, are we able to uh, help parents co-create an environment which brings this? So, can we help transition to get there? So, the reactions, the crisis, the unpredictabilities, chaos, to having space to come back and turn to you and say, see, I'm feeling this way. Can you help me? So all this do not happen at the same time. So if you look at the Maslow's law of hierarchy of needs, like it's a basic model which says human beings have basic needs, which is nutrition, shelter. For children, it's also play. And, the basic, the pyramid, at the bottommost need that we have is all our basic needs. And then we have our belongingness needs or, you know, uh, safety needs, and followed by cognitive and self-actualization. So if you when separation happens, all the three needs are simultaneously impacted. So when we speak about safety, we have to work around all of this. So if there is um, separation from parents, so children, the moment they perceive that a loss of protection from a trusted figure or loss of the trusted figure or loss of safety, then the harm sets in. So if there has been separation from a securely attached parent, uh, then they may have emotional difficulties. Uh, just imagine when we are losing something, how do we feel? The pain of and the grief sets in. So, in that sense, how do we? If you're saying when there are two homes, how if parents each parents before the conflict happened or before the separation happened, children have seen the conflict or children have heard the conflict, and then they have been alone and dealing with that. So if they have had a particular relationship, all families have, let me say, one child, maybe uh, they have had a certain kind of relationship with that child. And if post, let's say, separation, the child has had a new relationship with that parent, or with the existing parent is a single parent handling too many things and is not being able to be there. And so, how do we work around safety from an emotional perspective and from basic needs perspective? Uh, More than parental rights, I think we can prioritize also children's rights at all these levels. Uh, I think it would be easier for them to transition. It's hard, but it's easier for them.
So yes, ma'am. So far, like we had discussion over the parental roles itself, that how with the change of the from shared household to the divided household, how this thing changes the perception of security for the children. We just had another follow-up question that from your practical experiences, like for the parents, I still feel like, parents have that idea of security for the children, but majorly in case of divorces or the separation, relatives majorly are involved in that blame game sort of thing and blaming each other, like, so in that sense, how do you see this playing in practicality? Does it how does it affect the children? Because even if the parents try their best to maintain that level of security, but how does that relatives blame game come in and affect the children's feeling of security there?
Yeah. I think the greatest, research shows that the greatest hardship children have is because of conflict itself, um, more than what they have experienced probably in the past or any other circumstances. So, yes, when they recontact with the separated parent, when there is reunions or separation itself. Uh, so it's like this. We children want to attach to the separated parent. They long for attachment. At the same time, they also fear connection. What a dilemma that can be. So that is what we have to address. So therefore, again, how do we help that parents respect each other? How can they have new ways of um, not having discord in front of the child, keeping away materials that they can't process for their developmental age, such as legal materials? How can children uh, be a part of some of the decisions, of course, concerning their lives about schooling, living arrangements, etc.? However, choice to how they should attach safely, I think we as adults should provide that safety to them. How can we work on that? And not getting children to, deal with and navigate crisis of this primary fear. Will, if I, um, you know, make a relationship with one parent, how will the other parent feel? To Is this going to come back? Is it like a one time? How consistent? Is there unpredictability? I'm waiting, but then I do not see the parent. So there are multiple. It differs from. There's no one set of experience. But yeah, how can we address dilemma of children? How can we reduce conflicts? That is something we need to, I think, would be one of the core areas of it.
Thank you so much for that explanation, ma'am. Your insights into all of these questions, which we and even parents need to consider when they get a divorce, were really helpful and they really enhance our understanding of like the complexities which parents and even the children have to go through in case of a divorce. Just to follow up to these complexities, ma'am, recognizing that financial changes and insecurities can be a significant stressor for children in divorce, especially since divorce throws up all of these financial challenges up for the parents. So, in such situations, how can parents most effectively communicate their financial problems or their financial reality to the children, or even if it is not explicit, how do they implicitly signal it to their children and create an environment of stability and give a good life to their children? What are some practical strategies which parents can use in such situations to minimize the impact of changes in their financial situation or other financial anxieties on their children's mental well?
To answer this, I'd like to say there are three uh, cardinal tasks that parents have when they need to provide safety or create a safe attachment for children, is to protect and comfort them when they cannot do something for themselves, and to guide children to also self-protect in circumstances where they can. And the third one is to uh, foster independence and take age-appropriate incremental decisions and responsibilities, which is like we say, expanding their, don't help them where they can do for themselves, but be there. So allow being them. So if these are the way a child needs to be helped, then when it comes to finances, yes, in this, I can give you an example. When I remember a 10-year-old making, um, you know, the expenditure lists in that the household incomes, the task she took on, or she assumed this responsibility for a single parent household. And she dreaded, see, she has academic tasks, she has other life challenges, but she dreaded every single day, how will the money come for a 10-year-old? So, yes, you're right. Again, this is not that the intention of the parent was to do. This also comes in from this place that the amount of stress parents have and the lack of support single parent households have, and maybe many other factors which needs to be looked into. But yes, uh, uh, one of the major changes that happen is the hardships related to changes in financial stability. Instability, how can we offer that to children? Yeah, so when a child like that comes to us, we help the parent to uh, take a different, take an aware decision about shifting this practice and helping the child to, uh, you know, move into a space for a 10-year-old to do whatever task she needs to do for that age, and help parents to address some of those decisions. So, yeah, I think all of us collectively as systems and society, how can we co-create a system, an enabling environment for children is the larger question.
That actually explains the thing, especially your focus on this three cardinal task of protecting and comforting the child and guiding them and providing some independent space actually makes a lot of sense. Um, Another thing we were just curious over, ma'am, was that I think this might have been overlooked a lot of times, but the most of the development that child goes through is not just limited to the household, but it's also within the school atmosphere which they have to go through. So another thing which we were pondering over, that going through this tough process of the separation, the child's performance at the school, in the school environment might also be affected. So considering all these things which are going on, how do you feel that the parents need to have communication network or the information exchange with the school itself, because they might not be aware of all the things which is going in the children's life, but this is a major stage which they're going through in their life. So how do you see the parents or the caregivers playing a role over there to communicate with the school's system itself on having that security for the children?
So my quick thoughts, based on whatever experience I have about this big, huge area of working with children, would be, especially with regard to school, would be, I think, firstly, let me tell you that a lot of schools have become more sensitive. Sorry for that. And teachers are very, response sensitively and a caring way. Schools also are very careful about supporting children and parents. And in some of the schools, they invite, asking information about the marital status of parents. And whenever there is an absent parent, they would ask for what should be done about it, etc. However, can we increase support for children in school, and what are they? So I would go back to what are the vulnerabilities of children at school. At home, it's one, and the larger vulnerabilities are one level. But within schools, what is happening? So I think yes, othering happens. Othering happens. When I say you know the understanding, the notion of that families are of all kinds uh, needs to also come in spaces of learning. Let's say, imagine a child who is never seen from a single parent family, or children living with grandparents are asked about draw your family or calling out what is your surname, not out of an intent to hurt the child, but it's a common practice. So, how do we also instead ask who is that figure who who is supporting you, or who's, let's say, celebrating a parents' day, a particular parents' day. So, who's that figure who represents that? Can you draw that? That might be more helpful. So, there will be many such things that might have to be uh, brought in for bringing inclusivity and embracing differences, divergences. Um, and I think, however, one thing that I think probably schools are slowly beginning to integrate is increasing social emotional competencies of children. So there is bullying, there is shaming that happens. I have had children literally withdraw. I've witnessed children say that I don't have anyone, I cannot speak about this to anyone. At least till the age of 10, most children uh, feared about disclosures to their peers. They would make up stories, fantasies about what's happening in their family. And inside of them, what happens? They disconnect, and it can become a trauma. Because imagine you're very, very careful about people will find out about me and you're hiding something. And sometimes they know through online resources because it's out there on the websites, right? And they actually taunt them. And it's a very, very heartbreaking uh, issue that children do face. And so, how do you create social emotional competencies in children? There is again a space that expands into oneness of all. Being able to create dignity, respect, and compassion for, and we can deepen that space. Open schooling might be far more easier. And what parents can do, I think, cause parents need to make disclosures about their status and the matter to the school in an appropriate way, so that schools are informed, and parents can also avoid taking conflicts into school, and can have informed visits to the school. School can make it supportive for, let's say, a joint parent meeting of a parent who is not staying together. So how those kind of things need to be probably worked out. But I think it is, again, it would depend on every unique matter. So that is something probably is a way forward.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Your insights into how othering happens of these children at school. Then, when we go to this question of whether how parents should deal with schools when they have a divorce, your insight into how it really depends on social and emotional competencies of these families, and also how it really depends on how you talk about there are different types of families, and the answer would really depend on what type of family in which is in question. Um, on that note, like that answer was really helpful. On that note, like since we have covered all the agendas we had in our meeting today, I'll put the concluding note. So first off, thank you so much, ma'am, for being in this interview for all that time with us. Your insights have really helped us today understand what exactly goes on in the minds of parents and children, and what should go on in their mind when we have a topic of divorce at hand. Um, this interview has been very insightful for us to give us insights into children's mental well-being as well. And importantly, we also learned how children and parents can process these financial realities with sensitivity, and the key information which parents can share, or the different approaches which parents can take to communicating about the divorce with their child's school. We want to extend a heartfelt thank you from Family Legal to ma'am, for sharing this extensive knowledge and practical insights with us today. Your expertise has been invaluable in helping us understand the nuances of this complex topic from both a theoretical lens and a practical lens. This conversation will certainly serve as a very vital resource in the coming future for both lawyers and also parents who would be going through these sort of situations in the future. So thank you for joining us today, and also thank you to all our listeners for tuning in to another installment of a Family Legal Spot. So thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today and for your leadership to Voices of Children.